All energy emitted in silence has a frequency. It is as if the universe captured something that human ears do not listen. When a man decides to hold his seed, he begins to emanate a different vibration, subtle but deeply powerful. It is a spiritual sound that does not propagate by the air but by the soul. And this sound arouses the attention of the invisible. The gods do not speak words, they feel frequencies. They don't hear what you say, they realize what you vibrate. When you hold, your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, you speak their language. A language that is not learned in books, but is activated in silence, discipline, and sacrifice. Are you tired of waking up without energy, looking in the mirror, and no longer recognizing the man he wanted to be? Do you live feeling that something inside you is asleep, as if your soul is chained, waiting for a snap that never comes? My name is Layert, and this is Gods of Semen, the channel that will reverse this auto-sabotage cycle and reveal the truth that no one had the courage to tell you. With years of study and deep experience in seminal retention, I discovered something that society wants to keep hidden. That your sexual energy is the code of your spiritual strength, your mental clarity, and your masculine power. When you ejaculate too much, you are not just losing pleasure. You are giving up your leadership, your discipline, your essence. Here you will understand why so many men are exhausted, anxious, focused, lost in vices and distractions. And more than that, you will find out how to recover your vitality, your will to win, and the feeling that you are guided by a higher purpose. Seminal retention is not fashionable. It is the way to return to the man you were born to be. So stay with me until the end of this video, because today, powerful spiritual, scientific, and psychological secrets will be revealed, and you will never see yourself the same way. Now you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because this movement is just beginning. Be part of the new generation of conscious, disciplined, and unbeatable men. You are not alone. You are just asleep. Welcome to Awakening. Retention is the only practice that changes your vibrational language. Not only does it clean the body, it tunes your soul. As an ancestral instrument that has long been out of tune, your spiritual structure begins to emit sacred sounds that human eyes do not see, but the gods recognize from afar. Each day in silence is a syllable. Each battle overdue is a word. Why do your words lose power when you ejaculate? Because your vibration collapses. What was once a clear frequency becomes a noise. His aura, who once throbbed like a silent mantra, breaks down. And even if you speak beautiful, the universe doesn't listen. The gods do not respond words, respond vibration. Reactive retention, a forgotten language of the body. A language that their ancestors used before written, before human language. They didn't say, "I'm strong." They held. And the simple fact of holding the earth shaking under their feet. They communicated with heaven by the way they treated their body, their energy, their honor. Ancient men used energy as spiritual speech. Warriors who stayed months without spilling a drop so as not to break the pact with the higher forces. Shamans who knew that ejaculating in vain was to lose vision. Monks who sealed the lips and semen at the same time because they knew. Both silences opened portals. The silence of a man in retention scares crowds. He enters a place and no one understands why, but everyone feels. There is something in the look on walking, the invisible weight of your presence. He speaks little, but his breath already carries messages. He doesn't argue, he vibrates, and who vibrates loudly need not convince. Women feel that something bigger accompanies you. They do not know how to explain, but they feel. It is as if your body is kept, as if your energy is constantly connected with a source above normal, and they can't resist it, because man's energy and retention is not only sexual, it is spiritual, and their spirit recognizes. The whole universe responds to those who dominate this language. Doors open without effort. Animals come calmly. Children face with alert eyes. The chaos of the world begins to respect your presence. because your frequency speaks with dimensions that most do not even know exist. You start to operate on another level. Retention is your true language with the divine. It's not what you say in prayer. This is what you hold on in sacrifice. Each drop contained becomes a sacred word. Each overcome night becomes a sentence on the invisible altar. You don't have to prove anything else. You have learned to speak like the gods, in silence, vibration, and power. Every man observed tests his discipline. There is no true honor without the invisible look that judges the hidden of your heart. When you start to retain, you attract the silent look of those who inhabit upper dimensions. They do not appear, do not speak, but observe. And every step you take in darkness is a line written in your spiritual history. The gods hide tests within temptations. They do not put you to the test with monsters, but with desires. The perfect woman, the easy opportunity, the disguised invitation, all this is no chance. It is divine engineering. The test is not just to resist, it is to realize that it was put there on purpose, and that your reaction will determine the next portal. Why do relapses happen before a spiritual leap? Because every elevation is preceded by a fall test. It is at the moment that your frequency is about to break a spiritual layer that temptations arise more strongly. Not because you are weaker, but because you are closer. The fall at this point does not slow you down. It redefines your route. At critical moments, the eye of the invisible opens. You feel strange pressure, a no-form vigil. It is as if something is weighing you, watching you, evaluating each movement. This is the point where many give up, because the test is not just to resist, it is to endure God's silence while you are observed. Extreme loneliness is the field where the gods analyze your soul. They remove you from the noise of the world so that you can hear the sound of your war. There are no applause. There is no consolation. There is only you, your thoughts, and your flesh screaming. And it is there, in this absolute silence, that your true spiritual signature begins to be read by the heavenly powers. The man who resists is written in the book of vigilantes, not with ink, but often. Each day expired without ejaculating is a new vibrational line recorded in the top archives. The gods do not choose you for charisma, but by resistance. They don't look at your appearance, they read your vibrational structure. And just by resisting, you become readable to them. The chosen is not the one who wins, is what supports. Winning is eventual. Support is continuous. The chosen one is one who does not abandon the process when no one sees, who continues even without signs, who holds when everything inside it asks to release. It is in this kind of resistance that divine language is born. Why do your dreams change after 21 days of retention? Because the frequency of your subconscious changes. The dream field opens like a cleaner mirror. Visions appear. Symbols become more intense. Messages are transmitted through images and sensations that were not made sense before. Retention tune your spiritual antenna during sleep. The dark night of the soul is when the gods study you the most. When you feel you are alone, abandoned, betrayed to heaven, that's where your soul shines more intensely in their dimension. Don't expect comfort. Wait for surveillance. Because at that moment, the gods are not silent. They are recording. To hold is scream in the language of the skies. Each drop you do not deliver to addiction is a silent cry that echoes in the upper dimensions. You are not just abstaining. You're saying, I'm ready. Ready to be observed. Ready to be tested. Ready to be chosen. Retention is your loudest scream, even in absolute silence. There are strengths that disguise it to make you fall. They do not come with demonic faces, but with charming smiles. They do not present themselves as enemies, but as legitimate desires. This war is sophisticated. It is not visible to the carnal eyes, but who is in retention begins to perceive the codes. You begin to notice that certain people appear at strategic moments, And this is no coincidence. It is a trap. When the temptation comes with a beautiful face, it's test. And the stronger the call, the more sacred is what is being protected within you. The beauty that provokes you is not just a body. It is a trigger designed to test your frequency. It is an entity dressed in flesh. And if you are not awake, it will confuse the test with a blessing. The woman as an instrument of the heavenly code. It can be both the gate and the abyss. In many ancient cultures, the priestesses kept the vital energy of the warriors. But there were also the seductive sent to steal this same energy. Every woman who arises in your way during retention carries a spiritual purpose. It is up to you to discern which one. All ejaculation out of purpose weakens your divine signature. It is not just wasted pleasure, it is diluted spiritual identity. When you fall, you change the frequency you are building. The gods still watch you, but now your sound has become weaker. It is as if your soul is talking to echo, and the sky listens less. Lust spirits are attracted to your resistance. They don't just want to knock you down, they want to absorb what you're cultivating. It is as if your retained energy is a man jar, and these spirits circulate around you, using faces, voices, and memories to activate your triggers. The firmer you are, the more they shake. You are more targeted when you are cleaner. Your purity is offensive to darkness. The ordinary man goes unnoticed, but the man in retention begins to issue spiritual light, and this light attracts both angels and predators. This is why attacks increase. That's why everything seems more difficult. You are shining where few dare to light a candle. Each relapse opens a breach in your spiritual armor, and these breaches are not just symbolic. You feel the weight, the tiredness, the confusion, the emptiness. It is as if a part of you had been torn, because it was. Your vibrational armor is fragmented with each fall, and even rebuild it, you walk more vulnerable. The body burns because your soul is agnated. When you hold, something inside you starts to boil. It is not just carnal desire, it is the soul awakening. It is energy wanting to rise, wanting to transform, wanting to be used to create, heal, illuminate. But if you don't understand this fire, it becomes suffering. If you understand, he becomes power. The chosen ones are not tempted less. They are tempted with more strategy. The spirit world knows who you are becoming. And the higher your destination, the more surgical the attack will be. Don't expect obvious attempts. Expect subtle provocations. And remember, if temptation seems tailored, it may be because it really was. You are not being attacked. You are being proved. Each unclean thought, every image, every seductive voice is not just an attack. It's a question. Are you ready for the next level? And your answer is not in the words. It is in holding. To shut up. To beat yourself. Because in spiritual war, only those who support. You start to realize the secrets without telling you. The world doesn't change, but you change the way you see it. A simple look, a gesture, a vibration in the air. Everything is revealed. Not because someone told it, but because your frequency began to translate hidden codes. Retention tune your sensitivity, and you start reading what is beyond words. If you feel that there is a call within you, a silent impulse asking for transformation, it's time to answer. My new book, Alchemy of the Gods, is more than a reading. It is a deep spiritual activation portal that will lead you by powerful themes such as the awakening of Kundalini, the secret of crystalline oil, and the way of spiritual liberation. By accessing this knowledge, you will find out how to reconnect your body to your essence, how to raise your vibration consciously, and how to transcend the invisible arrests that keep you on autopilot. This is a journey of reunion with the sacred that inhabits you, with ancestral tools and hidden codes revealed in direct, deep, and transformative language. Alchemy of the Gods is available in 3 formats: physical, digital, and audiobook, so you can choose how to experience this experience, whether reading calmly, listening to meditation, or carrying you at any time of the day. The link is in the description and also in the fixed comment. Click now and start your personal rise. But first of all, I have a novelty that you did not expect. For men who want to recover their inner strength, restore focus, and live with purpose, I prepared audiobook's Semen Retention Success Path with over 2 hours of direct and transformative content about the most important pillars of seminal retention. In this audiobook, you will understand the invisible impact of retained sexual energy, how to convert desire into creative power, such as overcoming relapse cycles, unlocking your mind from toxic dopamine, expanding your natural magnetism, and discovering the true spiritual meaning of inner silence. What's more, anyone who purchases audiobook gets 30% off exclusive in the ebook The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with 20 practical pages of advanced techniques that will guide you for spiritual evolution, emotional balance, and alignment with its purpose. Take advantage of this unique chance. All links are in the description and in the fixed comment. And if you want to deepen even more, become a member of the channel. Members have early access to content, receive priority responses in the comments, and participate in backstage and special content that are not released to the general public. This is also a way of directly supporting this project and ensuring that more men are achieved by this awakening. Be part of our community now. Your transformation begins the moment you decide to be the same anymore. Followed intuition. You know what others hide. It is as if their eyes crossed invisible layers. You feel the lie before she's told. You know who is at peace and who is at war, even when they smile. You don't guess. You read vibrations. And the more days in retention, the more your perception expands like a living antenna. Women begin to admire you for reasons that they don't even understand. Something in you pulls a different. There is a magnetism, a weight in your presence, a brute force that does not harm, but it imposes. They do not know how to explain. They say you have something, and that something is the silence full of energy you carry inside. It is the internal domain that overflows on the outside. Magnetism increases because your essence speaks louder. The words are no longer your weapons. Now it's your posture, your look, your breath that carry authority. You don't convince anymore. You attract. Because your energy communicates with the world even before your mouth opens. It is the language of those who carry the sacred within themselves. You become a mirror, and it scares a lot of people. By your side, people see themselves. And who is in conflict feels this mirror as a threat. You do not judge, but your presence reveals. Not because you point, but because you are contrast. The silence of those who dominate themselves denounce the inner noise of those who live in imbalance. Men feel diminished by your side, even without you saying anything. It is not competition, it is energy comparison. They realize, even if unconsciously, that you own, that you don't have to prove. And that messes with the ego of others, because true authority is silent, and who doesn't have it feels. All your presence carries the weight of thousands of days of inner war. You didn't become like this by chance. Each step was a battle. Each night one was a war locked in the dark. And all of this is printed in your posture, the way you breathe, how it observes, how you choose not to react. You have become living proof that the spirit can rule the flesh. When your life becomes prayer, your breath becomes code. It is no longer the words that connect with the divine. It is your state of being, the way you walk, the time you take to answer, the way you hear. Everything turns into spiritual language. You become a walking portal between heaven and earth. The world calls you strange. The universe calls you a translator, because you understand what others don't realize. Read signs, interprets silences. You know when something has changed in the environment. You decode vibrations, and that separates you from the others. But it also puts you as a bridge between the visible and the invisible. When you shut up, the whole sky leans on to hear. Because your silence is no longer empty, it is pure vibration. It is like an unuttered but felt prayer, like a drum that resonates without sound. You no longer need to scream to be heard in the skies, because your retention already speaks for you. And those who have learned to master this language no longer need to translate. He became the message itself. Retention is not just a choice, it is a rite of passage. Each day holding is an invisible step toward your elevation. It is not just about controlling an impulse, but of turning this impulse into sacred fuel. The energy that was once wasted now accumulates as a silent offering to heaven. And the gods do not ignore who offers themselves. The body in retention becomes a temple in reconstruction. The blood circulates differently. Breathing changes. The eyes get more alive. The skin shines with another light. It is as if each cell is bathed by a language that activates old codes. DNA responds. Spiritual memories rekindle. And the man begins to remember who he was before the world tamed him. The soul of man in retention begins to issue signals that only the invisible captures. You walk down the street and it seems that everything aligns. Small synchronicities arise, unexpected encounters, accurate intuitions. It is as if the universe recognized you again, because now you speak his tongue, and that language is vibrational. Temptations do not disappear, they evolve. Contrary to popular belief, retaining does not put you in a state of unreachable purity. On the contrary, the more you go up, the more sophisticated the tests become. The faces are more beautiful, the most convincing promises. But you start to see beyond the veil, because now you know the price of falling. Retention trains you to deal with the invisible with honor. You stop running after pleasure and start walking with purpose. Each time you hold, one part of you dies, and another, higher, is born. It is a gradual renaissance, where the ordinary man is being replaced by a priest of himself. The world begins to try to seduce you in other ways, not only with meat, but with vanity, fame, distractions, because the world feels it is losing you. You are withdrawing from the common game. It is coming out of the frequency that feeds the chaos. And who leaves this frequency becomes a threat to the invisible control system. Your spiritual vision expands as if scales fall from the eyes. You start to see who really carries light and who just pretends. You feel the intention behind the look. Realize when an environment is loaded. And he understands that this is not a gift of few. It is the result of vibrational purification that retention causes. You start to walk with the weight of spiritual responsibility, because you know your energy is now gold. Do not waste gold in any ritual. This power is not shared with those who do not understand its value. You become selective, not by arrogance, but by consciousness. Retention is the key to a portal that few dare to open, because it requires sacrifice, surrender, constant vigilance. But whoever crosses this portal becomes something beyond man, becomes a symbol. It becomes lighthouse. It becomes a voice without sound that guides others. Because once you learn to speak the language of the gods, silence becomes your megaphone. The final code is simple. The sky doesn't need you to scream, just that you hold. The proof is not in showing strength. It is in resisting in the hidden. Because when you keep what is most precious, the invisible moves, and the gods in silence include to hear the sound of your faithfulness. Within each gout retained, there is a memory that does not belong to the body, but to the soul. Semen is the bearer of old codes, records that cross generations and dimensions. When you hold, you are not just avoiding pleasure. You are activating a spiritual library. Each impulse contained rekindles information that the modern world has taught you to forget. Science speaks of DNA, but the spirit speaks of energy legacy. Semen is not just biology, it is spiritual heritage. He carries the sound of your blood, the scent of your clan, the records of the men who came before you. And when you waste it without purpose, you are throwing away a story that has not yet been told. To retain is how to keep the sacred books of your lineage. Each day without ejaculating is a preserved page. And as time goes on, you start to remember, not with the mind, but with the spirit. Intuitions come, visions appear, dormant skills awaken. Retention is a process of reconnecting with your invisible identity. The voice of your spiritual grandfather speaks louder when you hold. Not the carnal grandfather, but the energetic ancestral. He who crossed deserts, wars, and rituals. The one who also retained, that also kept, and now whispers in your soul, guiding your step, reinforcing your structure, affirming your mission. The retention seals portals that the addiction opened. When you fall repeatedly, it's not just pleasure that escapes. They are portals that open to opposing forces enter. And when you start to retain, the spirit begins to close these breaches. Not instantly, but as those who rebuild a temple that was violated. You start dreaming of symbols you don't understand, but play you deeply. Swords, lions, stars, faceless voices. These are memories of your soul being decoded. And this is only possible because your energy is now righteous. What was once dispersion became a focus, and what was erased begins to emit light. The presence of a man in retention arouses the spiritual memory of others. Even unintentionally, you activate in others something that was asleep. Some reject you because they can't stand the mirror. Others approach because they feel your energy keeps answers. You become a living file of what the world has forgotten. Your voice changes, not just in tone, but frequency, because now you speak with layers of your soul that were silenced. You not only argue, you vibrate true, and who hears, feels. Because your language is no longer logical, it is ancestral. The path of retention is also the path of the rescue of your spiritual mission. What you always felt you had to do, but didn't know what. Each day of dominance over yourself, the map reveals itself. One step at a time, one vision at a time. Until you become the warrior your blood always knew existed. To hold your seed is to keep your spiritual memory. And whoever keeps this memory walks with the firmness of who knows where he came from, and therefore never gets lost. Retention is not prison. It is release of a real oblivion. Because in keeping what is sacred, you remember who has always been. You feel that something is draining you away from who you were born to be, and you may not even know what it is. Days pass, and you are still tired, without direction, anesthetized, as if your soul was stuck in a body you forgot how to shine. But what if what is missing is not motivation, but vital energy? What if the real mistake is how you have used, or wasted, your inner strength? The time has come to break this cycle. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next recommended video now, because what you will find out may be the beginning of your true transformation.